love Fridays, don't we? Think about it as a culture, as Americans. TGIF, right? Thank God it's Friday. We love Fridays. It signifies the beginning of the weekend. No more time at work. No more boss screaming at you, barking out orders. No more deadlines. Right? You get to get away. 2 whole days just to relax. Spend some time with the family. Maybe just spend some time at home. Take the family out somewhere. Do something. Maybe just spend some time in your favorite hobbies. Read a book. Recharging, refueling, getting refreshed. Again, to go back again for the next week. We love our Fridays. Think about Black Friday. One of the most popular shopping days the entire year. Called Black Friday, of course, because on that day, boy, retailers sell so much merchandise that they come out of the red from losing money, and they go into the black. They're making money. They love that day. Most shoppers love that day. I don't love that day. It's Friday. We love our Friday. And today is Good Friday. It even has good in front of the name. It should be good. You know, this day, 2,000 years ago, wasn't very good. It wasn't very good Friday at all. Now for us, for Christians, we can look back, right? We can look back through the lenses of Christianity. Retrospectively, we can look back and we can see that it was an amazing day. And we see the beauty, we see the wonder, we see the good in the Good Friday. But boy, 2,000 years ago today, that wasn't the deal. No, not for a small band of men and women. For them, everything they knew was over. It wasn't the beginning of anything. It was the end of everything. Their world just imploded. It didn't explode. It imploded. Everything they believed in, everything they sacrificed for, everything they lived for, all came crashing in. As their teacher, their friend, their master was crucified that day. And we know the story. They scattered. They lost themselves. They lost one another. I think even for a short amount of time, some of them lost their faith. It wasn't a Good Friday. But they should have known it was coming. Because Jesus told them. He said, look, here's the deal. We're going to go into Jerusalem, and let me tell you what's going to happen. I'm going to be handed over to the chief priests, and what's going to happen is they are going to beat me. And they're going to crucify me. I'm going to die. On the 3rd day, I'm going to raise again to life. He told them. He told them what was going to happen. In fact, in Mark chapter 13, verse 9, he tells them, be on guard. He says, you also are going to be handed over to the synagogues. Be on alert. He's saying, guys, listen, your Friday is coming, so you better be prepared. You know what? And it all started because Jesus was a problem for the religious leaders. At first, he was just an annoyance, kind of like a fly or a gnat. You just swat him. He just wanted him to go away. But after a while, Jesus began to upset every one of the religious leaders. And that wasn't as pretty. I mean, he was doing good things. But they were indignant. They would say things like, why do you eat with sinners? I mean, he was healing people. I mean, that alone, that cuts down on healthcare costs. That should have been good. They should have seen that as a good thing. He's doing wonderful things. He's casting out demons. He's feeding thousands. All the miracles that are taking place. And they're indignant. They don't like it. Started out just like that. But then something happened that put Jesus on the radar like nothing else. It was a Sunday. It was Palm Sunday, as a matter of fact. And Jesus is coming into Jerusalem, and there's this crowd. Can't even say it's a crowd. It was a parade. People are shouting and cheering, and they've got their palm branches, and they're waving them, and they're laying down in front of him, and they're just chanting, Hosanna! Hosanna in the highest heaven. It was a praise of adoration. And the Pharisees said, who is it? They said, it's Jesus, the Nazarene. Oh, boy, they didn't like that. A little following, that's one thing. But man, we got the whole city stirred up. And you got all these people following Jesus. Boy, that's bad news. Boy, they felt threatened. And feeling threatened was a pretty good way for them, a pretty good excuse to reject the truth. Because if people were following Jesus, they wouldn't follow them any longer. They would lose their place. They'd lose their position. They'd lose their livelihood. So this Jesus, boy, he's got to go. We got to do something with him. And so they start being aggressive toward Jesus. They interrupt him while he's teaching. He's teaching in the temple. And they just barge in and they say, hey, whose authority are you saying these things? Jesus said, all right, I'll answer your question. You answer one of mine. They said, okay, what you got? He said, let's talk about John's baptism. Was it from heaven? Or was it human origin? You think that'd be easy. Boy, these guys are over here, and they're huddled up in a little huddle, and they're looking over at Jesus, and back down here, and they're talking, and looking back over, and Jesus is just watching them. Boy, they're having a tough time with this. They know if they say that, oh, of course it was from heaven, then why did they accept it? Why did they reject John's baptism? But if they say that it was human, it's a human origin, boy, then they'd have to deal with the crowds. And the crowds, boy, they thought John, for sure, was a prophet and a man sent by God. They didn't want to deal with that. And so they said, we don't know. We don't know. We can't answer your question. We have no clue. And Jesus said, well, then neither will I answer your question. That's sad. They didn't want to know if he was right. They wanted to know who gave him the rights. Isn't it sad that the ones who wanted him dead, the ones who caused him the most aggravation, were supposed to be the greatest religious people of the entire area? It's pretty sad. And so they pushed. And they pushed. And Jesus started to go a little bit on the offensive. And he started to speak in parables. Kind of like Christian Piglet, you know. Ixnay on the ears you know? Okay, I'm terrible at Piglet, but you know what I'm saying. It was a way to teach his disciples and his followers. And I'm telling you, they knew it though. The chief priests, they knew that he was talking about them, and they didn't like it. And so they started to push and push even more. They got more aggressive, and Jesus went more and more on the offensive then. And he finally just started to address the crowds. And he said, hey, guys, the religious leaders, these Pharisees, they sit in the seat of Moses. You got to listen to what they say, all right? But don't do what they do. Because they place heavy burdens on men that they themselves will not carry. He said it's all for show. It's all for show. He calls them out. He goes into the 7 woes, and 7 times he just keeps kicking at them more and more. Woe to you, you scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites, you brood of vipers. Ouch. He calls them whitewashed tombs. You know, they're nice and shiny and pretty clean on the outside, but inside they're full of death and decay. You know, he says you wash the outside of the cup, but not the inside. He's making a real solid point. You guys are all messed up. On the outside, you look all pretty. It's all for show. You want man to see how great you are, but on the inside, you are so messed up. And they don't like it. Boy, they don't like it at all. And they start to look for a reason to arrest him. This is where Judas Iscariot comes into the picture. And he says, I'll do it. I'll do it. If the price is right, I'll do it. Yeah. He's that fourth philosophy in the parable of the Great Samaritan, the innkeeper. If there's something in it for me, I'll get involved. He's all over it. 30 pieces of silver? Well, you bet. 30 pieces of silver would never have the same meaning ever again after that. It just wouldn't be the same. And so we know that night that he was betrayed, Jesus even told them. Now here's my favorite part. I love this part of the whole entire story. Okay, because I love how awesome God is. Alright, Jesus is preparing. He knows what's going to happen. He's God. He knows what's going to happen. He knows in the next hours it's going to be brutal. He knows he's going to be beaten. He's going to be mocked. He knows people are going to spit on him. They're going to ridicule him. They're going to punch him. They're going to do all kinds of things. They're going to whip him. They're going to rip his flesh. He is going to be marred beyond human likeness, as Isaiah says. He's going to bleed. He's going to be in pain, shock, agony. He knows all of this is going to happen. And I love it because in Luke 22, verse 15, he's talking about this Passover meal, and he says, I have eagerly desired to eat this Passover meal with you before I suffer. That's what amazes me. It doesn't matter what he's going through or what he's going to go through. He's focusing right here on what really matters. All his love. He's still investing in his followers at that moment. And he says, one of you is going to betray me. I couldn't imagine hearing those words. And they all start saying, is it me? Lord, is it me? It's not me, right? Is it me? And they're asking, but not Peter. Right? The man's man. He says, not me, Lord. I tell you what, those jokers over there, they might leave you. They might ditch you. They might kick you to the curb, but not me. You and me, we're like this. I'm never going to leave you. I'm never walking away. Even if I have to die, I will not leave your side. We know how that worked out, don't we? Cock-a-doodle-doo, dude. He denied Christ 3 times before morning. After the supper, they head out to the garden, Gethsemane. Jesus goes there to pray. He takes Peter, James, and John along with him. He says, guys, stay with me and pray. But they're tired, and they fall asleep. Jesus is off praying by himself. He comes back and he finds them sleeping. He nudges them, guys, wake up. My goodness, he knows what's going to happen. And so he's begging them to pray, and they just don't get it. They fall asleep again. Jesus is praying with so much anguish that he's sweating. And it's not just sweat, it's drops of blood. He prays 3 times for the cup to be taken from him. He knows what's going to happen. He's just saying, God, if we can go from A to Z without having to go to this stuff in the middle, I would like to do that. But Lord, your will be done, not mine. 3 times he prays that. He comes back over to the disciples, and they're sleeping again, and there's the crowd. Crowd's not really a good word. More like a mob. They're there, they've got clubs, they've got swords. They're there to arrest Jesus. And here comes Judas. He comes walking along. Gives Jesus a big old hug, and he kisses him. Betrayed with a kiss. We know what happens at this point. He's arrested. He's put on trial. Again, what a joke. It's not even a trial. It's not real. It's a kangaroo court. If it's anything, it was unlawful. They weren't allowed to have trial at night. They didn't even have all the members there present. It was completely against the law. Their law. their own law. Caiaphas, the high priest, charges Jesus with blasphemy. He tears his robes. You know what's ironic? For the chief priest, for any priest, to tear his robe, it was blasphemy. Ironic that what he's charging Jesus for and saying, "You're guilty, Jesus," he's guilty of that. So they send him to Herod. Herod. Oh, this guy. He didn't really care what was going on. He just wanted to see some tricks. Hey, Jesus, pull a rabbit out of your hat. That's all he wants. He wants to see miracles. That's it. Entertain me. And Jesus isn't going to do it. He doesn't do anything. So he sends him away. He sends him to Pilate. Pilate talks with Jesus for a while. He comes walking out and he addresses the crowd. He says, "I don't see any reason whatsoever to condemn this man. Absolutely nothing." And they shall crucify him. That's their response. So Pilate just washes his hands. He says, "May his blood be on you." And they said, "We'll take it. May his blood be on us and upon our children." And they have no idea what they were saying. So crucify him, they did. And they beat him. And 40 lashes minus one was waiting. They mocked him. They ridiculed him. Put a crown of thorns on his head. Further ridicule. And made him carry his own murder weapon to Golgotha, place of the skull. He nailed him to that cross. And on that cross, he bled. He felt pain. He felt agony. It's not even a sufficient word for what he felt. And he cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" And at that point, his disciples knew, our teacher, he's not coming down from that cross. And Jesus spoke his last words. He said, "It's finished." And then he died. That was Friday. That was Good Friday. It's good because Jesus died on that cross. Because we didn't have to. It's good because he took my sin so that I don't have to carry it. He took your sin so you're not condemned. He paved the way between us and God so that we can have a relationship there once again. That's what's good about it. But maybe today, maybe at this very moment, maybe you're here because this is your Friday. Jesus said, "Pay attention, guys, your Friday's coming." Maybe for some of you, this is it. This is your Friday. Maybe you feel like you're standing right here in the middle of your world. It's all been scorched by fire. You're just standing knee-deep in ashes. Nothing green as far as the eye can see. It feels much like that day